Lena Redmond, founder of the Resilience Revolution. I'm really passionate about advocating the importance of good mental health and well-being, especially that of young people and their families. We know that with good mental health, we are better able to navigate the challenges of life and build resilience. Today, I bring you week 5 in the Ask Me Anything series. The question raised this week is, why is my child able to manage their feelings and behaviour at school really well, but not so well at home at times? This is a very common question. One I get quite a lot when I'm talking with parents. The main reason that this occurs is because children only have a self-control tank that with a limited capacity, like we all do. As adults, we only have a limited amount of self-control. It's not endless supplies of fuel to get us through the day. So if we use the analogy of a car, for instance, and when we're at home, we're filling up our fuel tanks full of all the good foods we need, full of the sleep that we need, getting some rest, getting some play, having some downtime, getting the connection that we need to fill us up, to sustain us for the next time that we go out on a road trip. It's like filling our car full of petrol, but it only goes a certain distance before we have to fill it up again. So when we send our children off to school with a full tank from the night before or the weekend, that full tank only lasts a certain amount of time. They use it up quite rapidly at school when there's so much going on. Their brains are learning, they have expectations and boundaries and rules that might be the same but a little bit different than the home. They're unsure of what the consequences might be, so they're a little bit more worried about that than they would be at home. And their fuel tank gets depleted. Now, if there's a child who experiences difficulties in any area, whether it be learning or whether it be social difficulties, or they have a disability like ADHD or ASD or a social emotional disorder, their fuel tank will be depleted a lot quicker because they're having to work a lot harder to manage all of those challenges in a different environment. So when they get home, their fuel tank might be nearly empty. For some, it could be well and truly empty. And so when they get home in their safe environment with their safe people, the people who love them unconditionally, they feel like they can relax and that they don't need to give as much attention to worrying about the consequences of their behaviour, which comes from their feelings, of course, whatever feelings they're experiencing. And they might be feeling bigger feelings by the end of the day because they've used up all that fuel all day long, trying to do the right thing, trying to follow all the rules and expectations of a different environment. It takes a lot of energy. Even as adults, we know that when we're in a work environment, we may have to behave and act in different ways according to the environment we're in or the people that we're with. We're still ourselves, but there are expectations of us to behave, speak, and listen in different ways, and all of that takes energy. So we, even as adults, need to go home and fuel our tanks up overnight as well, so we're able to go out on the next road trip the next day with that full tank. So we just need to remember that children only have a tank that will get them through a certain part of the day. Others might have a tank that lasts a lot longer, and that's okay. It's different for every child. So if we're mindful of that, I think that we'll react to some of the behaviours we see when they get home in a more compassionate way. That doesn't mean that we still don't have boundaries. It just means that we can reflect on that behaviour as if it's not intentional. They're not just doing this because I know that they can do it at school. So why aren't they doing it at home? It's not intentional that they're putting on a good show at school and then coming home and letting it all out. it's actually a really, really healthy thing for them to do. We all need a space where we feel safe enough to let our feelings out and to be ourselves 100% with people we know are going to love us no matter what. That's a safe space to be. That's a predictable place to be. And our children need that just as much as we need that as adults. So I think it's important to remember that if the meltdowns or the behaviours you're seeing in the afternoons after a child comes home from daycare or school, wherever they've been, whatever age they are, that if that's getting to a level where it's really impacting on the family environment and the child's actual ability to function properly, or not properly, but in a way that is bringing positive effect to their life, then it might be time to reflect on scaling things down and taking some of that pressure off so they're not using up so much fuel during the day. It might be things like having to look at what extracurricular activities they're doing and maybe minimizing them just for a time until they get back on top of things. Our bodies and our minds need fuel. So we need to make sure we're looking after the physical side of our bodies, but also the mental health side of our bodies, our minds and our thoughts and our feelings, because that is what dictates behavior. Our thoughts and our feelings create our actions and what we end up doing. So it's important to give fuel to those as well. Thank you for listening today. And if you have any further questions, please message me on social media, or you can contact me via email as well. I'm really enjoying answering these questions, so please keep them coming. You can also go to my Facebook or Instagram pages and like those and follow those so you can keep up to date with what's happening with the Resilience Revolution. Thank you very much. Take care.